Welcome back, everybody, to the deep dive. Now, today we're going to try to really get into some ethical marketing strategies.
Okay.
You sent over this great article from Procure for Marketing,
Yeah.
Ethical Issues in Marketing, Part 2. And our mission today is, I think, to figure out how to build a strategy.
Yeah. Right.
Not just what is ethical marketing, but like, how do we build a strategy around it?
Well, and you know what's so interesting is I think people often think about ethical marketing as like a way to not have a problem.
Right.
Like, how do I not get called out for doing something unethical?
Right.
But I think it's actually a really proactive way to think about your marketing
Okay.
and to make sure that it really does reflect kind of what your brand and company values are.
Yeah, so it's not just like a checklist of like, don't do this, don't do this, don't do this.
Right.
It's more about a feeling and like a deeper...
Yeah, and an intention.
Yeah.
An intention behind it.
I love that. Okay, so first up in this article, it talks about navigating the legal landscape.
Right.
And I think that's something that is important to note.
Yeah, and that can be very tricky.
It is tricky because I think people think of marketing as this very creative,
Right.
like Wild West,
Sure.
where you can just like make up anything and put it out there.
Right.
But there are a lot of laws, especially when you start dealing with different countries.
Oh my gosh. Yes.
So the article specifically talks about the U.S., the EU, the U.K., and Australia.
Yeah.
Now in the U.S., we have the Federal Trade Commission,
Yeah.
the FTC, which really is focused on truth in advertising.
Right.
So that's the big thing. You have to be truthful in your advertising.
Yeah.
Which you would think, like, obviously.
Oh,
But
no,
a lot of people try to kind of like
bend that.
bend
Wow.
it or like get around it.
Yeah. And be a little bit
Yeah, for sure.
deceptive.
Yeah, and then you go to the EU and it's completely different.
Totally different.
It's all about data protection.
Yeah. The General Data Protection Regulation, the GDPR, which I know we've talked about on the
Yeah.
show before, but it is so important for anyone.
Who's doing any business in the EU?
Huge. Yeah. And, you know, a lot of companies, I don't think realize how many laws they're actually subject to,
Right?
you know, if they're marketing in these different countries.
Yeah. So if you are a global company or you're even thinking about expanding globally,
Yeah.
you really need to have either in-house legal expertise
Yes.
or partner with some kind of compliance team.
For sure. Or both.
Yeah.
I mean, ideally both.
Yeah. Just to make sure that you're not accidentally breaking the law.
And you know, what's interesting too is that I think in a way it also shows a lot of respect to your customers
Totally.
all over the world to make sure that you're following the laws of their countries.
Exactly.
You know, like it's not just about you and your company and what you want to do.
Yeah.
It's about like respecting the laws and the people.
And their data.
Yeah, in those different countries and their data.
Yeah, because imagine you put all this money into this amazing campaign and then you roll it out and it's like
Oh.
illegal in like 5 countries.
Illegal. It's like you're going to have to take it down. It's going to
Yeah.
be this huge mess.
Yeah. So not a good look.
Not at all.
Okay, so we've navigated the legal minefield somehow.
Okay, great.
What's the next step in building our ethical marketing fortress?
Yeah, I think the article is smart to point out that a lot of companies or any company really should think about having their own internal code of ethics,
Okay.
specific to their marketing activities.
So like not just like a general company code of ethics, but like marketing has its own...
Totally, its own code of ethics because it's going to be very specific
Got it.
to the activities you're doing.
And the things that are tempting to do.
Right, exactly.
Okay.
And I think about it as like a compass
Yeah.
to guide all of your decisions.
Okay, but what does that actually look like? I feel like you say code of ethics and it's like
Sure.
just a big rule book
Yeah.
that no one ever looks at.
Right. Right? I mean, it can be if that's all it is.
Right.
But you really should think about like, okay, what are your company values? Like, what do you stand for? What are the things that are non-negotiable
Yeah.
in terms of how you're going to interact with your customers?
Yeah.
And then what are the things that are like, okay, well, this is how we behave ethically,
Okay.
and this is how we don't behave ethically.
Got it.
And it has to be a living, breathing document.
Oh, I see.
Because,
then it's about that.
things are changing all the
The
time.
digital world is changing so fast.
Exactly, so fast.
So like what might have been considered ethical 5 years ago
Right,
is totally different now.
right.
Yeah,
So
okay.
that's why you have to keep reviewing it, revising it.
Yeah.
And, you know, like, and think about specific scenarios.
Oh, that's interesting.
Like, how are we going to handle influencer marketing ethically?
Yeah.
What are the boundaries around that?
Right.
How are we going to use customer data
Oh.
for targeted ads ethically? What are the boundaries around that?
Yeah, because the more specific it is, the more likely you are to actually use it.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly.
Okay, so we write this code of ethics, And then implementation
Right.
is where I feel like a lot of companies fall short.
They totally do. They make it, and then it just sits there.
It just sits on a shelf, and it's like
Yeah.
this beautiful document
Yeah.
that no one's ever looked at.
No one ever uses, and then something happens, and they're like, oh, we had this.
Oh, we had this.
But we didn't do it.
We didn't actually do it.
Right, right. So it's not enough to just create it.
You have to train people on it.
Yeah.
You have to integrate it into daily operations.
Yeah.
You have to have some kind of accountability measures.
Like someone whose job it is to make sure people are doing it.
Someone or some system or some, way to measure it.
Right.
And the other thing is that leadership has to be on board.
Oh, that's so important.
They have to.
Like leading by example,
Yes.
not just words.
Actions speak louder than words in this case.
Yes, because if you're telling your employees to behave ethically and then you're out there doing shady stuff,
Yeah. They're going to know.
and they're going to be like, well, why should I?
Yeah.
You know.
Exactly.
Okay.
Okay, so let's say we have our legal ducks in a row and our internal compass
Yes.
is pointed in the right direction.
Okay.
What's the next step in this ethical marketing strategy?
I think transparency is the next piece.
Oh, transparency.
Yeah, the article talks a lot about making your brand like an open book.
Right.
And I think that's super important, especially now
Yeah.
when consumers are so skeptical
Well, they
of
are,
everything they see,
especially marketing claims.
especially marketing claims, for sure.
Right. So it's not enough to just be honest.
Right.
You have to be like proactively transparent.
Yeah, I love that, proactively transparent. That's great.
Like you have to be like,
Yes.
this is what we're doing. This is how we're doing it.
Yeah,
And, if you don't like it, that's fine.
that's okay.
But this is what we believe in.
Right. And we're not hiding anything.
Yeah.
Like, we're going to tell you exactly what our pricing policies are. And if there's any additional costs,
Yeah.
we're going to tell you upfront.
No hidden fees.
No hidden fees, no surprises at checkout.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's something that a lot of people are frustrated with these days
Oh, for sure.
is like, you think you're getting a deal
Yeah.
and then it's like, oh, well, there's all these extra
Those
fees.
fees and taxes and this.
And you're like, I thought I was getting this for
Yeah, I know.
$10 and it's like $30 later.
Totally.
Yeah.
So I think being really upfront about that is super important.
What about things like product ingredients,
Oh, yeah.
manufacturing processes?
For sure.
Like, how much do we have to disclose?
Well, I think it depends on the industry.
Yeah.
But particularly like food and cosmetics,
Yeah.
people want to know what's in these things.
They do?
Where do they come from? How are they made?
Yeah.
And I think being really open about that builds a lot of trust.
Yeah. I'm thinking about some of the brands that I really trust.
Yeah.
And it's the ones that are like, this is exactly how we do it, even if it's not
Yeah.
the prettiest or, the most streamlined.
The most perfect.
Yeah. But they're willing to show you behind the curtain.
Yeah.
And I think that's actually what builds that trust.
Totally. It humanizes a brand, I think.
Yeah.
Because I think for so long we've thought of brands as these like...
Faceless corporations.
Yes.
Right.
Exactly.
But if you could be like, look, we're real people.
I think
We making these things.
that's how we do it.
This is how we do it.
Yeah.
We mess up sometimes,
Yeah.
but we're trying our best.
Yeah. I think that goes a really long way.
Yeah. And especially in today's world where people have access to so much information,
Right.
they're going to find out anyway.
They're going to find out.
If you're trying to hide something.
They're going to find out.
So it's better to just be like,
Just be upfront.
look, this is how we do it.
This is how we do it.
Okay. So I'm convinced I'm on board with transparency.
Okay, good.
But how do we actually do it?
Yeah.
Is it just putting information on our website?
It's more than that. It's about being accessible
Oh.
to customers and being responsive to their inquiries. So if
Mhm.
they have questions, answer them.
Yeah.
Use your social media, use your blog post to
Mhm.
show behind the scenes stuff,
Yeah.
to talk about, your sustainability efforts.
Right.
Or even challenges you're facing.
Yeah.
I think that's a really cool way to be transparent.
Yeah, it's like an ongoing conversation with your customers
Exactly.
where you're being like, look, we're not perfect,
Right.
but this is what we're
That's
doing.
what we're working on.
We're trying.
Yeah.
The article also mentions getting third-party certifications
Yeah.
or audits.
Yeah. If that's relevant to your business.
Yeah.
So that you're not just saying,
Yeah.
oh, yeah, we're sustainable.
Right.
Here's our certification from this reputable third party
Right.
who's come in and looked at everything and said, yeah, you're doing it right.
Yeah. So you have that stamp of approval.
Exactly. Okay. And the other thing is just communicate clearly.
Yeah.
Yes. Avoid all the jargon.
Yeah.
Make sure you're really upfront about any shortcomings.
Right.
And allow your customers to make informed decisions
Yeah.
based on all the information you've given them.
So it's not about tricking them into buying your product.
No,
It's about being like,
this is what it is.
this is what it is.
Yeah,
You decide if you want it or not.
you decide.
Yeah, I love that. Okay, so this is already a very action-packed
Yeah,
deep dive,
it is.
and we're just getting started.
I know we are.
So much more to come.
So much more to cover.
And welcome back to the deep dive.
Oh,
We're going to keep going with ethical marketing strategies. We've talked about the legal landscape. We've talked about the internal code of ethics.
right.
But now I kind of want to talk about using this for good.
Yes.
You know, like how can we actually make a positive impact with our marketing?
Well, and that's what's so fascinating to me. I think so many companies get caught up in just like
Right.
not being unethical. But the real opportunity, I think, is to think about how can we use this to actually have a positive impact?
Yeah, like using marketing as a force for good.
Yes, exactly.
The article mentions cause-related marketing
Yes,
as one way to do this.
it is a great way.
So can you explain what that is?
Yeah, so basically cause-related marketing is when a company partners with a charity or a nonprofit,
Okay,
and they kind of align their marketing efforts
got it.
with that organization.
So it's not just like putting a pink ribbon on your product.
Right, exactly. It has to be more than that.
Yeah.
It has to be a really authentic partnership.
Yeah.
And the cause has to align with your brand values
Okay.
and ideally with your customer base.
Yeah, so like an example.
Yeah. So let's say you're a clothing company
Okay.
and you're really focused on sustainability.
Got it.
You might partner with an organization that does like textile recycling or
Okay.
ethical manufacturing,
Got it.
something that really aligns with what you're already doing.
So it's like walking the walk. Not just talking the talk.
Yes.
Okay, so you found this amazing partner.
Right.
How do you actually make sure this translates into tangible results?
Well, I think it's about more than just giving them money.
Okay.
You know, I think it's about telling the story of the partnership
Got it.
and using your marketing channels to amplify the organization's message.
Okay.
So like talk about the work they're doing,
Yeah.
the impact they're making,
Yeah.
how customer purchases are contributing to their success.
So really kind of bringing your customers along
yes.
on this journey.
Yes, make them feel like they're part of it.
Yeah.
You know, share behind the scenes glimpses of the collaboration.
Oh, I like that. So
Yeah.
like show them what you're actually doing.
Right, exactly. Like, don't just tell them.
Yeah.
Show them.
Okay.
Create content that showcases the cause,
Yeah.
you know, and then encourage customer participation.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah, like maybe you do donation matching
Oh,
or
okay.
you offer volunteer opportunities. You know, things that really get people involved.
I love that because then they really feel like they're a part of it.
Yes, and I think that creates so much loyalty
No.
and advocacy for your brand.
Totally.
Because they're like, oh, wow, this company's not just selling me stuff.
Right.
They actually care about something.
They're actually making a difference.
Yeah,
Yeah, and I'm a part of that.
you're a part of it.
Yeah. Okay, so that's cause-related marketing.
Right.
The article also talks about sustainable marketing.
Yes.
And this is one of those things that I feel like is thrown around a lot,
It is.
but it's like, what does it actually mean?
I know, it feels kind of buzzy.
Yeah, like what are we actually doing here?
Right. Well, I think it's about taking a holistic approach to your marketing
Okay.
and really considering the environmental and social impact of all of your decisions.
Okay.
So like from sourcing materials to packaging to shipping.
So it's not just about like the product itself.
No, it's about the entire life cycle
Okay.
of the product. And it's about minimizing your footprint,
Okay.
taking responsibility for the impact you're having.
Okay, so like tangible examples.
Yeah. So maybe you transition to recycled packaging
Okay.
or biodegradable packaging.
Got it.
Maybe you reduce your energy consumption in your operations.
Yeah.
Maybe you offset your carbon emissions.
Okay.
You know, there's a lot of different things you can do.
And I imagine that's a pretty big undertaking for some companies.
It can be, yeah, especially for larger companies
Mm.
that have really complex supply chains.
Mm.
But I think it's worth it.
Yeah.
You know, not just because it's the right thing to do,
Yeah.
but also because consumers are demanding it.
Right.
They want to support businesses that are sustainable,
Yeah.
and there are often cost savings to be found.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, because if you're being more efficient,
Yeah.
you're reducing waste.
You're saving money.
You're saving money.
Okay, I like that angle.
Yeah.
And then, of course, there's the positive impact on the planet,
Of course, the most important part.
which is ultimately what it's all about.
Exactly.
But sustainable marketing goes beyond just the environment.
Right. It also includes social sustainability.
Okay, that's an interesting distinction.
Yeah.
So what does that mean?
So social sustainability is about making sure that your marketing practices are ethical
Okay.
when it comes to people,
Okay.
So this might include things like fair treatment of employees,
Yeah.
responsible sourcing of materials,
Got it.
giving back to the communities where you operate.
So it's about recognizing that sustainability is not just about the planet.
Right.
It's about people too.
It's about people too.
Yeah.
And I think this really ties back into transparency,
Okay.
because consumers want to know
Yeah.
where their products come from, how they're made, who's being impacted
Right.
along the way.
And I think we're seeing this theme throughout our conversation
Yes.
is that transparency is just so important.
It's essential.
Yeah, whether it's cause-related marketing, sustainable marketing,
Yeah.
even just honest advertising,
Yeah.
transparency is what makes it all work.
It's the foundation of trust.
Yeah, okay. So we've talked about creating a positive impact through cause-related marketing, sustainable marketing.
Right.
The article also mentions promoting diversity and inclusion
Yes.
in your marketing.
And this is huge.
Huge. Why do you think it's so important?
Well, because I think for so long, marketing has perpetuated a very narrow view
Right.
of what's considered beautiful or desirable.
Totally.
And it's often excluded vast segments of the population.
And those images can be really damaging.
So damaging, especially for young people.
Yeah, who are like bombarded with these messages.
All the time.
Yeah, constantly.
Yeah, so I think it's time for brands to challenge those norms
Yeah,
and really embrace the beauty of diversity in all its forms.
totally. Like, let's show the real world in our
Yes,
marketing.
show the real world.
Right.
And so that means showcasing a wider range of ethnicities, body types, abilities, gender identities, ages,
Yeah, all of it.
all of it.
Like everything.
Everyone should be represented.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And it goes beyond just representation.
Okay.
It's also about making sure your messaging is inclusive and respectful.
Yeah.
So like using language that resonates with a diverse audience
Right.
and avoiding harmful stereotypes.
It's about being mindful of those little things,
Yes.
those subtle things that can actually be really harmful.
So harmful.
Yeah.
So be intentional about the words you use, the images
Mhm.
you choose, the stories you tell.
Yeah.
Make sure everyone feels seen, valued, respected.
I love that. And it's not just about doing the right thing.
Right.
It also makes good business sense.
It does.
Because if you're reflecting the diversity of your customer base,
Yeah.
you're going to connect with them more.
They're going to feel seen.
Yeah, and they're going to be more likely to trust you.
Absolutely.
Yeah, okay. So diversity and inclusion, another huge piece of ethical marketing.
Yes.
The article also touches on this idea of persuasion.
Which I thought was really interesting because
Yeah.
I think we all know that marketing
It's all about persuasion.
involves persuasion.
Yeah,
But when does it become unethical?
right. Well, that's the question.
Yeah.
And I think a key differentiator is transparency.
Okay.
So if you're being transparent about your intentions,
Yeah.
your methods, your goals,
Yeah.
then your persuasion is more likely to be perceived as ethical.
So it's about empowering people to make informed decisions.
Exactly.
Not tricking them
Yes.
or coercing them.
Give them the information they need. Be upfront about your objectives
Yeah.
and respect their autonomy.
I love that.
Don't try to prey on their insecurities or use fear-mongering
Right.
or make unrealistic promises.
It's about treating your audience with respect,
Yes.
acknowledging their intelligence,
Yes.
and trusting them to make their own choices.
Exactly.
Yeah. And this is especially important, I think,
Oh, for sure.
when it comes to marketing to children,
So important.
because they're just bombarded with these messages.
They are, and they don't have the critical thinking skills
Right.
to really discern what's real and what's not.
Yeah.
So marketers have a heightened responsibility, I think,
Yeah.
to be ethical in their approach.
So no more using cartoon characters to sell sugary cereal.
Right, or implying that a toy will give them superpowers.
Right.
Be honest. Be transparent.
Yeah.
Be mindful of the impact you're having on these kids.
That's about protecting them,
Yes.
not exploiting them.
Protecting, not exploiting.
Yeah.
And I think it's also important to involve parents in the conversation.
Oh, that's a good point.
Yeah, be upfront about your marketing practices.
Yeah.
Provide resources to help parents make informed decisions
Yeah.
and be open to feedback.
Yeah. I love that.
It's
It's about working together
about working together.
to create this safe and ethical
Well.
environment for kids.
Okay, so I think the big takeaway here is that ethical marketing.
It's about recognizing the power that we have
Yes.
as marketers.
We have a lot of power.
Okay.
And we need to use it responsibly.
Yeah.
It's about making choices that benefit not just our businesses,
Right.
but also our communities and the world at large.
I love that. So it's shifting our mindset
Yes.
from what can we get away with
Right.
To what kind of impact
What kind of impact do we want to have?
do we want to make?
Yes.
Yeah,
I love that.
that's a great place to end this part of our conversation.
It is.
All right, welcome back to the deep dive. This is the final part of our ethical marketing strategy conversation.
It's been quite a journey, right?
It really has. I feel like we've only just scratched the surface, but I'm already like
I know.
taking notes and thinking about how to apply this to like my own business and everything.
Yeah. Well, that's great. I mean, hopefully you've gotten some really good takeaways
I have for sure.
from this.
Yeah.
So I think as we wrap up this deep dive, I just want to leave you with a few things to really think about. And first of all, we've talked a lot about like the different elements of ethical marketing, but I think it's important to remember that it's not just about like
Right.
checking boxes
Yeah.
and avoiding negative press.
Right. It's not just like a PR thing.
No, it's not just a PR thing. It's really about
Yeah.
a much deeper commitment
Yeah.
to doing business with integrity
Yeah.
and building genuine trust
With your customers
with your customer.
and like with the world at large.
Yeah, I mean, it's about recognizing that your actions as a marketer have a ripple effect.
Oh,
They impact not just your bottom line,
yeah.
but society as a whole.
So every decision matters.
Every decision matters. Every campaign, every message,
Wow.
every image you put out there has
Yeah.
the potential to influence people.
Yeah, that's a lot of responsibility.
It is a lot of responsibility, and I think that's why it's so important to be intentional about it.
So how do we ensure that we're using that power for good?
Well, I think it starts with a company-wide commitment
Okay.
to ethical practices.
So it's not just like a marketing department thing.
No, it can't just be a marketing department thing.
Yeah.
It really has to be embedded
Yeah.
in the company's DNA.
So it's like a culture
Yes, a culture of ethics
of ethics.
from the top down.
Yeah?
From the CEO to the frontline employees, everyone needs to be on board
Yeah.
with this mission of doing business responsibly.
To walk the walk.
Walk the walk.
Don't just talk the talk.
Don't just talk the talk, and then also recognize that
Yeah.
this is an ongoing process.
Oh, that's important.
Yeah, it's not like you figure it out and then you're done.
Right.
It's a constant evaluation, adaptation, a willingness to learn and grow.
So it's a journey.
It's a journey
Yeah.
of continuous improvement.
I like that, and we've talked about this throughout the deep dive, but I think it's worth reiterating
Yes,
that transparency is just so important.
it is essential.
Like it's the foundation.
It's the bedrock of trust. It's about being open and honest about
Right.
your practices, your values, your goals.
Yeah.
And it's about giving consumers the information they need
Right.
to make informed decisions.
And I think people can spot a phony
Oh, they
Yeah.
can.
from a mile away.
A mile away.
Yeah.
So just be authentic.
Could be genuine.
Be upfront.
Yeah.
Don't be afraid to show your human side.
Yeah, because I actually think about some brands that have messed up
Right.
publicly,
Yes.
and they've been like, we messed up,
Yeah.
and this is how we're going to fix it. And I'm like, I trust you more.
Or
Because you're not trying to be perfect.
it's that vulnerability
Yeah.
and that accountability that I think really builds trust.
Okay, so we've talked about a lot of the challenges
Yeah.
of ethical marketing,
Mhm.
but what about the opportunities?
Well, I think there are a lot of opportunities.
Yeah.
And I think it's important to focus on those too. Because
Yeah.
ethical marketing is not just about doing the right thing,
Right.
it's also good business.
Yeah.
It can be a key differentiator.
Yeah.
In a crowded marketplace.
Because people are looking for brands
They are.
that align with their values.
They want to support businesses
Yeah.
that are making a positive impact on the world.
So it's not a burden.
No,
It's an asset.
it's an asset.
I love that.
Yeah, it's a way to attract and retain loyal customers.
Yeah.
Enhance your brand reputation, build a sustainable business
That you can be proud of.
that you can be proud of.
Okay, so I have a challenge
Okay, I love a chat.
for our listeners.
Okay.
The next time you see a marketing campaign, any marketing campaign,
Okay.
just pause for a second
Okay.
and ask yourself,
Okay.
is this ethical?
Ooh, that's good.
Is this a company I want to support?
I love that.
Because you have the power
You do.
to make those choices.
You vote with your wallet.
Yeah.
You support the businesses that are doing the right thing.
Yeah, and you can use your voice
Yes.
to call out,
Call out those unethical practices.
yeah, demand better.
Demand better.
Yeah, because this is a team effort.
It is a collective effort.
Consumers, marketers,
Everyone.
yeah, all of us working together,
Create a better world.
yeah, to make business a force for good.
Yes.
All right, well, thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive into ethical marketing strategies.
It's been a pleasure.
I hope you learned something. I know I did.
Me too.
Keep exploring this topic. Keep challenging yourselves to be more ethical, and remember that even small changes
Can make a big difference.
can make a big difference. All right, well, we'll see you on the next deep dive.
See you later.